In the name of our beloved and ever-present God. So for those of you that heard echoes of Messiah, the piece by Handel in the psalm, lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lift up, ye everlasting door, that the King of glory may come in. Who is this King of glory? That's from Messiah. Once you've heard it, most of the time you don't forget it. Lift up your heads. Who is this King of glory? The Lord. I am reminded today of another piece from Messiah by Handel. It's called He Was Chastised, and, well, not so much rejected. And the reason that comes to mind is that last week we were talking about Jesus, and we were saying, I said to you, well, where is Jesus' home? And everyone in the room said, Nazareth. And everyone in the room except me was right. I was caught up in the nature of Mark's Gospel, and I made a very, very clear mistake in my assertion that here is Jesus, and that we are talking about Capernaum. Mark's Gospel only mentions Nazareth 5 times. As I said before, there is no birth narrative in the Gospel of Mark. We think it is the oldest Gospel, and out of this Gospel the others were formed. But Mark does mention Nazareth 5 times, and he mentions it each time is Jesus where of Nazareth. Jesus of Nazareth. So that Jesus' family comes to him, that does imply, and it's absolutely correct, that they were speaking of an incident described that took place in Nazareth. Mark's Gospel also speaks 3 times of Capernaum, and that's where my head and my heart were last week. And in these references, it seems very clear because Jesus had a house in Capernaum. That was the center of his ministry. So we believe that he is from Nazareth, but his home or his operational center was in Capernaum. I have to say to you that there are a couple of things about that. One is that I'm always in danger when I speak with absolute certainty about almost anything. I even qualified that, if you will notice. The people who, Aaron and Linda, who come to do the lectionary study with me, are often, I think by now they're a little bit suspicious, especially when I'm absolutely firm. Yes, this is absolutely the case. Let me show you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I guess this is. So I have that particular issue that I have to deal with in my own life. But the other piece is that I asked my beloved Stephanie today. I said, well, why didn't you correct me? Well, there's that reason. But the other reason is that she said that I was speaking from the voice of authority. And that scares me a little bit. It reminds me of the importance of what we do here, what I'm called to do as your priest, what I'm called to do from this place, or from there, or from wherever I speak to you. That you give to me, you honor me through your acquiescence to the canons of the church, and also through your faith and understanding of the relationship of clergy and people. You give to me the honor of the benefit of the doubt, is the way I will say it. And so the challenge comes that speaking from authority, I need to be very careful about that. I need to be, on occasion it appears, more careful than I am. So you have my apology if I seriously confused you last week. If I didn't seriously confuse you, give me another chance. I have minutes today to speak to you. Maybe we could get into that today. One of the things about this story that this is, if it weren't so serious, it would be funny to me. If it weren't such a serious story, I would find humor in this. That Herod Antipas, who is the tetrarch, the head of the tetrarch in the Galilean area, Herod Antipas says, "Oh, I'm going to give half my kingdom to this young girl who dances for me." And what makes that, okay, I'll call it ironic. What makes that ironic and points towards a place where we could almost find some humor, if it were not so serious, is that this would never happen. It would be hands up, everybody who believes this really happened this way. And yes, we have it described beautifully in Mark, and some people say, well, it's written in Scripture, therefore it has to have happened exactly this way. And if that's where you are, that's okay. That's okay. But the likelihood of a tetrarch in that period of time being willing to give half his kingdom to a young girl who danced for him is highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely. Let me just say it that way. Especially when in this part of the world and at this time, the people who had that name Herod come from descend from Herod the Great, and Herod the Great was noted for his violence to people that did not support his leadership and ruler, his ruling of the area. I think that Mark is speaking to us with tongue-in-cheek. This is yet another example, my brothers and sisters, where the guilt of this situation is pointed toward a woman or toward a girl. Herod, in this instance, is supposed to be acting honorably. How is it honorable? How is it honorable, my brothers and sisters, for him to say that okay, well, you know, I said I'd give you half the kingdom, and all you wanted was John's head, so that's actually quite easy. Go get John's head and bring it here. There's more to it than that, and I hope you understand that there's more to it than that. There's more to it than that. It was not easy. This is not an apology, I promise you. It was not easy being a ruler of a tetrarchy in that particular time, in that particular place. You were at the mercy of your Roman overseers. There also are challenges 4 or 5 years before the traditionally given birth of Jesus was a revolt among the population. So you had pushings, heavy pushing coming from the bottom and heavy pressure from the top. So this is the proverbial rock and a hard place, and you've also had to be mistrustful or distrustful of almost everyone around you because everyone was lobbying for power. It was dangerous to be in that position. So the simple fact of the matter is, John the Baptist had a great following, and that great following tested or might have been a center of location for unrest in the community. Therefore, he is out of here. John the Baptist lost his life because he was a prophet. And as a prophet, he was questioning the authority. And people around him were supportive of his ministry. That people were understanding, they were learning that the kingdom of God was ruled by God. And that in the power of powers that be within the world, there is no greater power than God. So the questions were flying fast and furious to hear. This is not about Herod Antipas marrying the divorced wife of Herod Philip. This was not about that. It was not about the fact that Herod the Philip in my opinion. This was not about the fact that Herod Philip had divorced his wife and he was still living, and now Herod Antipas married him, that Herodias married her. It's not about that kind of thing, although that was probably frowned upon in those days. John the Baptist created the possibility of unrest, and therefore he could not live. And what is significant to me about this story is that Jesus of Nazareth, would have understood completely how dangerous was his calling. If Jesus of Nazareth, the person, the human being, had any doubts about what lay before him, the fact that John the Baptist was murdered would have eliminated that forever. See, later on in the Gospel of Mark, we have the feeding of the 5,000, and we have a couple of other healing stories, and then Jesus goes up into Tyre, Phoenicia. And I think that one of the reasons he goes up there is because he has to have time to get away from the pressures of being a prophet in that part of the world. He has to go up there to determine whether or not he has within him, as a human being, the strength and courage to go and do what he is expected to do. And we do know from that experience, from all of these experiences, from the truth that we get out of the Gospels, that he did do what he was expected to do. And there's our story for today, my brothers and sisters. There's our story for today. What is it that we are called to do? On Wednesday, when I was opening this Gospel and thinking about it for the first time, I think about martyrdom. I think about martyrdom across the world. People today, this very day, probably are dying for their beliefs. They are dying for their faith. They are being killed because of what they believe. I have seen it in my life, time and time again. Even in places like Northern Ireland, where the disputes, I think I'm hearing that the unrest is increasing now, even now, where the disputes are between two arms of the Christian faith, between the Roman Church and the Protestant Church. People are being killed. Well, it's more than that, isn't it, Jim? It's about politics. It's about who owns what. It's about who is in control. It's about power. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But sometimes that power is demonstrated in what we believe. Certainly, power comes out of what we believe. And I look around here and I think that probably none of us are going to ever in our lives face martyrdom. I don't think that I will ever, God willing, get up in the morning and have to determine that today I will have to make a decision which will cost me my life. And I will be martyred. I don't have that close to me. But so what is it about for us? What do we have to worry about here? What do we do here? That's the question. What are we afraid of here? Well, I don't like to ask people to come to Holy Trinity Church because it might, impose on them. Wow. I don't want to do this because I don't want to live out my life. I don't want to do the right thing. Because if I do the right thing, people will know that I'm a Christian, and then you know what that's like. I don't want to have to say to individuals, that behavior must stop. That flag must come down. I don't want to say that because it might annoy somebody. It might create some static in this world. I don't want to say that this is what is valuable. This is what is right. And I know this because my King, my Savior, my leader is Jesus of Nazareth. I don't want to say that. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to talk about politics or religion, because that might reveal something about who I am and what I understand, and we don't want to have any kind of trouble. I'm trying to imagine what Jesus Christ would have done with that. I'm trying to imagine what John the Baptist would have done with that. Or those people that came to get John the Baptist's body and still continue to support the ministry of John the Baptist. Those people who picked up Jesus' body after he died and was raised up and supported his ministry. Those people who gave their lives and their faith to someone who gave their lives and their faith to us all these years later. Sometimes it's even hard to have the courage to say, I'm sorry. Wow. And here we have, this is a demonstration, my brothers and sisters, however you want to read this. This is a demonstration of the level of courage it takes to change the world. But we don't need to do this kind of courage. We're not called upon to do this kind of courage. We're called upon to tell the truth as best we can. By what we are, by how we live. On those days when I get hard-headed and I get so full of myself I can't even stand myself on the way home, I need you to help me, and I will help you the best I can. But it takes a little bit of effort, and it takes a lot of courage sometimes to be Christian in this world.